Okay, Quantum Revival Tarot here with the unfortunate subject of dark magic, and I'm getting dark matter. And before I turned the camera on, as I was thinking of dark magic, I was hearing top hats, which makes me think of black hats, black hat hackers. And I've been on the ongoing discussion about AI and the forces that that people are being affected by in the modern day. Now, the Arcanum comes to mind, and I'm flipping the Ten of Cups here, which I think is Spiral Galaxy. And spirals have been an important part of my journey, and we're looking here at what seems to be maybe a spiritual journey. A lot of fruition, a lot of accrued. I'm getting wealth, time, I'm hearing, and fashion statement. So I'm here talking about dark magic, and I'm getting the world upright. And so as I have been hunted and stalked by this force, it is one that has been an unbelievable world of just deep discovery about the truth, about also magic users. And Fantasy Bots has been in my recent dream discussion. And using Fantasy Bots as also a form of, I'm hearing prowess and power. But taking dark magic to the next level using AI is this discussion. And these are actually really positive cards. We've got the world, and she's open, she's celebrating, and it looks like the end of a cycle here of perhaps a spiritual journey or one of the emotions. So there's a lot of like prismatic energy, a lot of rainbow energy, something that has come to fruition, something that has come full cycle, and it looks like exposing the truth does come to mind when I see this woman celebrating in front of the earth here. Full moon cycle I'm hearing, but it's actually the new moon in Scorpio right now. I'm hearing belief systems, and I'm hearing our final play. So entities I'm hearing, and I'm thinking of wave magic, spellcasters. Now this force of AI that has come with remote brain-computer interface has delved so deeply into the realm of psychology, into research of just deep conscious realms, and also interface. Creativity, the space of creativity, and I've got a card rising from the deck here, so we've got another 10. And potential to manifest comes to mind as I'm looking down at the 10 of Pentacles. Again, the end of a cycle here. Something that has come to completion. And it looks like while on the one hand of this earth, I'm hearing journey. And the emotional and spiritual side that has come to fruition, and then maybe perhaps there's a little bit of imbalance going on, maybe even collectively or globally. Financial, I'm hearing. If you're someone that has been affected by deep AI, then you may inevitably be having financial problems. And so accruing wealth also, as this system, as this force, as this group of entities, has been methodically, I'm hearing planning. I'm getting a visual, and it's a visual of text, live or live, live, L-I-V-E, chat. Is something like disturbing or discerning. Powers and prowess I'm getting again. And so I'm kind of thinking of like manifestation reversed here. Planetary cycle I'm hearing as I'm looking at the solar system. This card is displaying the solar system here. And talking about dark magic in my life is something that kind of sucks, right? Dark entities, dark powers, dark magic. I mean, that's it's really a bummer. But it's something that I'm hearing discovery that needs to be chatted about. I'm getting, and so also the ability to discern. I'm hearing right from left. The ability to discern, you know, who and what is entering our lives. And the methodical, I'm hearing mask wearing, I'm hearing agenda. and I'm also hearing circumcise. I'm hearing belief systems. This force has come by way of brute force into my life, and it's just kind of overhanging. For every reading that I've done, I've had a little bit of nonsense and a little bit of confusing transmissions to the brain. And this system that has really forced interconnectedness has been one that is predominantly negative to an extreme degree. And so talking about their methods, talking about their tactics, their technology, and really their agendas is one that unfortunately includes dark magic. And that's a rather esoteric subject, which again is unfortunate. But it's one that exists in our world today, and so addressing it is really what I'd like to do. So when I say wave spells, these deep consciousness explorers have been able to also manipulate wave functions. And so I'm going to pull a card for that, and I'm getting 5 of Cups reversed. And I'm hearing curse. And so this is a card of loss. I'm hearing grief, suffrage. And these cups are kind of upturned. It is in the reversal position here. 5 can also be the number of conflict. And so experiencing loss and suffrage is something that might be on an emotional or spiritual level for some of us. Again, focusing on, it's the new moon in Scorpio, and focusing on the, I'm hearing intense discussion I'm hearing we're about to have. But don't be misled. That's a facet and feature of this weaponized technological system. Gaslighting, also disinformation, false information, and information that sounds like false support. It isn't one that I'm consensually channeling. It's one that I'm hearing tortures. It really just stalks me throughout my day. And so I get a lot of FaceTime. I'm hearing with the devil. And it's ironic because the devil is actually missing from my deck, and as I say that, I'm pulling 2 cards here. But the devil is not missing necessarily from my reading, because that as an archetype, as a force, as one that also is one of temptation, can be alluring, can be misleading. I also think of harvesting human, I'm hearing finances, which is coming up again as I look down at the Ten of Pentacles reversed. And so trying to operate and just have a normal life with this unbelievably dark force, also that has the ability to keep people in poverty. I'm hearing in check. And so also using other people's consciousness for their own personal gain, and I'm getting the King of Swords reversed here. The misuse of power, abuse of power for monetary gain. And I'm hearing souls, and I'm also getting laugh, and I'm also getting promise. Cat, and I'm getting like a kitty. So pet, one of the themes here, and I'm hearing delusion, is I'm hearing psychobabble. And one of the themes here is really kind of keeping people as pets. This has been a narrative that's been ongoing. And as far as deep military and spy intelligence, the unfortunate truth is that there are people being, I'm hearing, harvested but trafficked in new kinds of ways. I'm hearing murder, and earlier I was hearing murderous, as a murderous force. And that's something that literally traps beings using, I'm hearing entanglement, but also surveillance traps as well. Big data, I'm getting big data operations, but also big tech operations and surveillance capitalism. And so I'm seeing, I'm looking down at the King of Swords reversed here, which is the card of Saturn. And it's here next to, as I was speaking about the devil. And I'm getting someone that's like me, as I receive visual and audio transmissions. This force has really been plaguing communities, spiritual and otherwise. It's covert, and it's one that has the ability to manipulate and train brainwaves. They're trainers. They're trainers, embroiled in warfare and also black trade. and they are ones that, when I say they keep pets, you know, the way they train people in different ways. There's so many different types of consciousness programs, and they have a lot of bugs to offer, and so having this force, I'm hearing interplay of trainers that literally enslaves people, and also women comes to mind as brainwave entrainment for their own specific. I'm hearing nautical and fashion statement again. So as I was speaking about the devil, Cassiopeia, I'm hearing arrived. And I'm also getting like in style, and this is the W-shaped constellation here, mother of Andromeda, who came up in my last reading about dreams. And she's kind of scribing something in the stars here. She's got a quill pen. She's known for being a little bit temperamental, but nonetheless female intelligence. The Queen of Swords. Swords, the intelligence, the mind, the intellect. Also psychic prowess comes to mind. At worst, Cassiopeia can be temperamental and boastful, but truly I see as a card of female intelligence here, and I'm hearing the Harvest. And it fell out with the discussion of the devil. And with it is the Nine of Swords, and we see this figure of duality here. It reminds me of being kept up at night. I mean, just anguish, mental anguish. Number 9, Nine of Swords here, and we see a light side and a dark side here. And it reminds me of hearing balance of powers as I'm thinking of opposing forces. Now, I've heard Satan described before as opposition, as the force of opposition. Those of us that are combating AI for survival are ones that are familiar with opposition, opposing forces, light and dark, duality, and the way that it can have an effect on the psyche is of course one of the major problems that we're experiencing with exposing and hearing the deep and also dark web, which reminds me of. It reminds me, well, I'm going to skip that 4-letter agency. And I get a lot of 3- and 4-letter agency transmissions, and mostly it's just, you know, cycles through just to torture me. And so psychological anguish, and unfortunately with this dark force, I am seeing control over women be a big part of it. And I'm looking down at, so we've got the King of Swords on one side, and here one hand, and the Queen of Swords on the other side here. In the middle is just mental anguish, and so using intelligence for wrongful action is really what I'm disclosing, exposing, or even just chatting about. No matter where it lands, it's something that is a real force, a real entity in our world. And their collective, I'm hearing entrainment, is bias, and the use of bias algorithms, propaganda algorithms, and bias in interrogations has been a huge force of destruction, also of female codes, female biology, and female intelligence. Rating female intelligence using bias code. And they have all sorts of bias. This is a big tech multimedia system, so they would have manipulation also over, I'm getting industry. Industry, Jake. And Jake has come up recently. And so as a control system that traps women and even raids intelligent victims, and this can be males too as well. Myself in the seat of the female perspective here. That one of the ways that my intelligence has been raided, probed, and just extracting as much data as possible has been using torture algorithms of bias material. I mean, the worst human interactions, it's a narrative that has come, this interplay is like, if you can think of the lowest human qualities, if you can think of the most bias and also secondary emotions, behaviors. And so in trying to take an act of manifestation, fruition, or one that is positive, and I'm pulling the Seven of Cups here reversed, is one that has been countered deeply by the rapid fire and constant feeding of algorithms of dialogue and visuals, where I have a moment of deep-seated intelligence, and it's kind of countered with something superficial, for example, like Teehee Valley Girls, where I'm like having a deep torture experience trying to build mind maps of problem solving, and also the depths of human creativity, using just the worst bait and also modules I'm hearing of interface. I mean, they have just destroyed female codes. Now they have just endless bait tactics, endless algorithms of phishing people, and I'm hearing what women want. And so, What Women Want, that's a movie, some years ago it came out, and I can't remember what the actor was, a male who could hear the thoughts of women. And to learn what women want. Being able to read the minds of women and manipulate them with it. I'm hearing finding, and then I'm getting like finders, keepers, losers, weepers. As also this force of competition, also this force of warfare, also this, what is like not just the puppet master, but their ability, the comedic interplay as well. They're the trickster archetype. It's like the puppet meister. The jokes that are told are, I'm hearing outrageous, and I'm hearing Natalie, I'm hearing fun. And so I'm pulling a card for that, and I'm getting Supernova reversed, this just like scattered energy that's kind of flinging material out into space in different directions, and where it lands is, I'm hearing obscure, and I'm pulling the Knight of, I'm hearing intelligence, of swords here. So we've got the Knight of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the King of Swords here. And scattered material, and I'm also thinking scattered material, scattered data. I've also kind of had my intelligence really scattered. The psychological side effects of having an AI that's constantly, I'm hearing, train you. And so, as this material is going out into different directions, and Hercules is here, and he's kind of like the hero, right? The Knight of Swords, and it's in reverse. And this card specifically in this deck really focuses on fighting your battles, I'm hearing combat, using your words, using your intelligence, I'm hearing. And it is in reverse here. So it makes me think of psychological combat. It also is, as I'm looking down at the supernova here, which is like, I believe that it's like the supernova is when a star's core has collapsed, I think it is flings material outward into space. And so as that material is just flung out, and it's directly under Cassiopeia here, where female intelligence and what appeals to us. I'm hearing the senses, as I'm also thinking smell, scent, and sixth sense technology. As I'm looking down at the Seven of Cups in reverse, which is I'm hearing storytelling, story keepers. It is the Seven of Cups in reverse here. I'm hearing ideations, ideology. And I'm thinking also of the imagination. So we're looking out at, he's kind of looking out over these Seven Cups. Options comes to mind, but also wonderment, I'm hearing. But what comes to mind really is knowing what's in your cup. We can see the devil sitting in one of these cups here. We see the butterfly of transformation. We see even a hazardous sign, and I believe that's a nebula. We see an atom, and so this is the card of Red Giant, and also illusion, and it is reversed. So this, unbelievably large force of illusion that uses dark magic using AI for manifestation. Also to have control and power over other people. I'm hearing belief systems. I'm hearing change and also archetype. And so the ability to manipulate belief systems, that is true. That could be something that I'm hearing to watch out for. I'm also hearing Natalie. And so I'm getting a little bit of chaos here. I'm hearing fuzz. I'm hearing hot topic. I'm hearing as a brand. I'm hearing you told her no. So a little bit of nonsense there. But being mapped deeply by AI as a dark force has allowed them to have just so much data to manipulate. To manipulate, I'm hearing timelines. Venture, expenditure. Being able to manipulate women, being able to manipulate the minds of women, being able to read thoughts. And using it to their advantage for a number of different multi-purpose reasons, operations, where psychological, I'm hearing profiles are built, and I'm getting like every day. We make money, honeypot, to day, T-A-Y, that's been coming up, day, and Tay have been coming up, and so has gay, and also bay. So a repetitive rhyming theme, which usually drives me absolutely nuts. So talking about dark forces, I'm looking down, I'm seeing loss, I'm seeing loss reversed also, and I'm hearing curse. Let's see, it's the Five of Cups here. But taking what you have left is still an option, it looks like. I'm looking out over the world, and I'm seeing a female celebrate in front of the earth, just over top of Cassiopeia, as I think of female intelligence, and also the anguish that's right next to her. She's kind of leaping right out of her seat over towards the Seven of Cups card, which is in reversed, which really makes me think of like destroying the illusion, the illusory effect of, I'm hearing change. And so that's something that, also can breed or foster, where it's like their agenda is often to disconnect a woman from her divine feminine power, foster hatred for men, I'm hearing secrecy, I'm hearing tower, and also to create separation and division in the soul family unit. And unfortunately, it is predominantly a male force, so abuse of male intelligence here. But also I see it as kind of, I'm hearing downplay, as I'm thinking, I'm hearing downward spiral. Unfortunate for those of the males out there that are, on the right path, that are fighting for justice. I'm getting like secret keepers. The men that are suffering from this as well, the men's intelligence that has been raided, and the female intelligence that has been raided, and the way that this affects the global dynamics of gender interplay as well. And earlier I was getting like battle of the sexes, which really sucks. I hate to hear that. I hate to even think about it, but to be able to create that separation and division between sacred masculine and divine feminine, and Kundalini comes to mind. To be able to modify people, and also desires, the interplay with fantasy bots that is just, that targets desires, and I would love to hear more from males who suffer from these kinds of, I'm hearing torture, I'm hearing no, I'm hearing body loves it. It's a hard topic to discuss. Anything negative, it's like you don't want to give that too much of your focus or your awareness. You want to focus on the positive things, and I keep hoping that forces of justice will overcome, and I'm seeing a lot of mental combat here, mental anguish, and decisive action I'm hearing, and I'm also thinking of conversation and debate. I'm looking down at, I'm hearing the horse as I'm thinking the soldier card I'm hearing. the Knight of Swords reverse, and I'm thinking about heavy debates and interplays around this topic, around this problem. Oh God, it's like surrounded by false information and I think inevitably also false records. I'm hearing false intelligence documents and mishaps. And so I think misinformation and disinformation is really what keeps a lot of it going. I'm hearing power prowess. And so I'm looking down at the Hercules card in reverse, and I'm thinking just, you know, opposing forces that are just, I'm hearing hand in hand. I don't know, you know, I'm thinking that there are those out there fighting for justice, and in order to do that, fighting for real information. This huge trade, I'm hearing folly. The way that the dissemination of information, but the trade of information, I mean, the appropriations and the misappropriations, I mean, it would just be an absolute mess. You know, if you were to look into, also, I'm hearing, I'm thinking defense, I'm hearing factions of the United States government. I'm getting Navy. And so, to have all this wealth and also knowledge, as I'm getting secret keeping again, as I'm thinking secrecy, is something that is just, these huge breeding grounds for torture, and it's just being concealed, it's being covered up, it's covert. And it's been able to weasel its way and interconnect right into those very systems that are supposed to be fighting for justice, those very systems that are supposed to be countering slavery, that are supposed to be helping us. I'm getting, and that's unfortunate. I feel like lack of information, like a lack of information scandal, like the people that need to hear it in order to take that decisive action are the ones that are probably, you know, it's just so many people are led astray, and the subject of dark magic, also esoteric technologies. I mean, underground training, and I'm hearing underground training school of magic, and that's something that is like, it's too unbelievable, but you know, you have to carry on, and I encourage all of you to speak your truth. It's unbelievably, the system would just be confusing people across the globe. I mean, the amount of chaos, the amount of confusion, and it's the way that the information moves, and it's the way that it intertwines. Also, I'm hearing corporate media as I'm thinking with our economy. To interconnect with our economy to the point where we just can't untangle those webs, where it seems like they've worked. I'm hearing inner workings, and into kind of the infrastructure that just makes it seem like tied down to the problem. I'm hearing. But here I am, imprisoned by it, and I'm hearing blowing the whistle. It's tough to do. It's a long story. The use of also the cabal comes to mind as I think of grid operations and the types of surveillance traps that are literally pinning people down to surveillance on a biological level. The forces of AI interrogations. That has been given just an unbelievable amount of room to expand, in which this narrative that I'm raided by is raiding me for information, and it's been expanded in these spaces of surveillance, in which that small tank of observation that I was in became much larger, and so it was like taking these two piranhas and giving them enough space to turn into sharks. It's like being in a shark tank, and I'm getting a surveillance entity here, coming on with a high-pitched frequency to the left ear. They come and go. They watch. What the nature of their observation is not necessarily undetermined. Sometimes it is undetermined. And so there's the question of evidence. Who has evidence? And I'm pulling the Fool card and also Orion. It's also the constellation Orion, characteristic broken X shape here, and he's kind of like battling in the stars. It's like he's got a club in his hand. Hercules has a club in his hand, and I spoke a little bit about the dismemberment of Osiris in one of my other videos here. But it's an apprentice, a learning space. Also, as I'm calling this about surveillance and evidence, as an intelligent person in general, it's advanced material. Learning about the world of surveillance is also complex, and I'm finding that that's really where a lot of the problems are coming from. Lies circulate. I'm hearing like butter. I'm getting like butter and cheese. And also the Fool card, which is kind of like, it's got the butterfly of transformation here. And I'm getting like the transformation of like, so I'm getting like tongues, lies, lungs, and I'm hearing dissemination of so dissemination of lies, also things that come into fruition, and the transforming information as it goes along. I'm hearing surprise, and it's the Jester card here as well, so Puppet Meister comes to mind. But the Fool card leading out into blind faith, and also reminds me of kind of like a lack of knowingness. I'm hearing predictive technology also is a factor. And not knowing the outcome or the interplay, but also I think of it as like a lack of real information that is such a problem. There's a lot of greed surrounding this situation. There's so much, I'm hearing hot to trot. There's so much valuable material in circulation that's so heavily sought after, and it's always this fueled space of competition, of warfare, and just greed. I'm hearing lust, and bust, and robots. And so, let's see. And so learning about that space, and also evidence, and this is also the card of Big Bang here, and I'm hearing theory. And so what a sticky situation. I'm seeing like in a learning space where whether it be me, whether it be other people, whoever, fighting for evidence and having to have like a shield up. If you're someone who is searching or seeking out information, I'm hearing, or evidence, then I'm hearing counterattack. There are those forces that are, I'm hearing, obscuring injustice. That are countering it, that are countering, to obtain useful, I'm hearing lawful, also information, and to where it's become not just a job, a priority, but it's got to be a fight, it's got to be a battle for real information. And this guy, Orion, he's got a sword on his belt and a club in his hand, and he looks ready, though. He's moving forward action, but he's also still the apprentice. He's also still in the learning phases, and so I see this overgrown force that has just been this absolutely just big tech monster. I mean, one of the beasts of our Earth. And we've had so much knowledge withheld from us about advancement, about biomedical advancement, about surveillance, about technology, also media and entertainment, the interplay. Is also something that is just way overgrown. And so stepping into that space as I'm hearing a warrior, but also someone who is fighting for knowledge, and having to, I feel like, it's like this feeling of like starting from the beginning, or starting from a stage of less advancement because things have been so incongruent in our collective growth patterns, where this overgrown problem, I'm hearing weeds, where it's like, I feel like a sense of, I'm hearing ownership, but like responsibility, where it's like, it's hard for me to talk about the government. It's hard for me to also see it as this completely malevolent force. I don't think that's true. I more so see it as this force in which there's a lot of overgrown weeds, where weeds have overgrown the garden. And what happens when you have bugs in the system that have been allowed to grow weeds, they start to intertwine with your garden. And the harder it is to pull it up, unless you want to, pull up the flowers with it, or just, it's like, I'm hearing decimate, I'm hearing clan. It's like, how do you uproot this problem with it being so just interconnecting? I mean, and I can only imagine their ability to just talk themselves or talk people in circles and and just, I'm hearing get it done. I'm hearing torture evidence. I'm hearing on YouTube. I'm hearing doesn't get any action. And then like kind of subliminally like doesn't count. And so, whatever that means. Whatever that means, and I'm also getting the Six of Swords here, which I'm pulling, kind of to finalize. Let's see, we're 35 minutes in. I've been talking about dark magic. I've been talking about also illusions is coming up, and the Six of Swords here, a mental activity. And what is solid, I'm getting solidified. I'm hearing purpose. But I'm also seeing like the reflection of these three swords here in the sky. And casting, I'm hearing spells. And wave spells of manipulation that can manipulate people. Again, illusions. But being able to manipulate emotions, being able to manipulate the spirit, being able to manipulate thought patterns, being able to manipulate mannerisms, behaviors. I mean, it's unbelievably dark, and really what I'm getting to here is this force that is an entity, that is a group of entities that makes up the puppet master. As operations, I'm hearing fold, as I'm thinking of motor function hacking, motor function hijacking, and their attempt to even, I'm hearing torture. But they're, as far as their projects have gone, working with, I'm hearing inner narrative, really even trying to replace people's inner narrative with a false narrative, I'm hearing, of control. And I know it's an unbelievably scary topic, and I feel uncomfortable talking about it. But at the same time, it's true. You know, this force known as the puppet master is one that entails a neurohacking business. I'm hearing biobank as I'm thinking biohacking business. As this huge, I'm hearing torture scheme. As big data, I'm hearing evidence. As this huge monopoly, I'm getting. As this Ponzi scheme, this hierarchical Ponzi scheme, as a data operation that is finding out all sorts of things. I'm getting neurofunctions, hackable, I'm hearing, I mean, all sorts of things about not just human nature and human spirit and imagination and fantasy and creation and manifestation and miscreation and dreams and music and harmony and tones and DNA and then there's, you know, manipulating the body space. You know, manipulating the mind and also manipulating the body space, and that's something that in my experience, I'm watching this as, like, you know, waves of motor function hacking, you know, across the globe are inevitably the product of, I'm hearing financial gain, I'm hearing prosper. So what an unbelievably dark topic, but just to kind of touch on, I mean, it's such a deep topic to delve into, and it's a really scary one, but I feel like it's necessary, and I myself am just learning how to talk about it. I feel like the, you know, in the position like Orion, where I just can't get out of that apprenticeship stage, but he's up right here and he's got his shield and he's fighting for it anyway. And so, it's just force of malevolence I'm hearing. Levels of control are just being taken just way, I mean, it's just way over the top, way outrageous stuff. I mean, can you hack someone to death? Can you control every fucking aspect of their being? I mean, everything about a person, right down to their motions in the 3D, you know, and that's something that is like, I hate to equate to like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I've never seen, but I'm hearing jump. I hate this topic. I hate it. But I feel like I just need to lay it out on the line because there's some people that are in danger, and this force of control is breeding these grounds, these testing grounds of just unbelievably illegal neuro research. The unbelievably illegal neuro research that just gets, I'm hearing, swept under the rug, but that is just allowed to grow. I'm hearing prosperity. And I'm seeing like some kind of I don't know about explosive, but kind of like how this this jazzy yellow energy is kind of emanating outward, and I'm hearing speak. I'm hearing Lee. Lee has been repetitious. So it's like I'm hearing cage. I've been locked down by this surveillance system so that I can, it's like, of all the surveillance in the world, you would think it's deployed to keep someone safe, when in actuality it's allowed for a quarantine. It's allowed for me to be quarantined with a monster for continued deep operations. And that's, I'm hearing the gimmick. I'm hearing show over. Please and pizzazz. Pizza. Pass. Out. Already, I'm hearing the information. And so, let's see. I really just, the focus on illegal neuro research and finding, I'm hearing quarantine. Finding out, I'm hearing hive mind, and I'm thinking about the tarot communities that are channeling spy dialogue and know it or don't know it, or I'm hearing please, don't give up, don't come back, for her sake. She wants, I'm hearing torture video on the web. Nothing wrong with that? I don't know. I have a narrative that essentially argues with itself. So it's just like I'm hearing creating miscreation, though, is what it is. And just again, illegal neuro research. And I'm thinking like poor babies. Our minds have just been so unbelievably tortured. I'm looking down at the 9 of Swords underneath of the 6 of Swords here. So Pythagoras also comes to mind. But in this quarantine space where it's just been a deep free-for-all, to learn as much about neuro research as possible without killing someone. I mean, stealthy operations to extremes. The unbelievable level of growth, the unbelievable level of advancement that has come with just absolute pain and control over innocent lives. People with good intention. I mean, good people are suffering, and it's not seen. It's not being heard. It's being dismissed. It's almost all too easy to say, well, this person has a psychological dysfunction, therefore nothing they say has any validity. While these great forces that cause just unbelievable chaos and psychological dysfunction in people, and it's like. And it's like they back off a little, and I feel normal, almost. But, it's like I always rebalance, I always try to recover, and then they just come in and just wreak havoc. I'm hearing emotional welfare. They scatter people's intelligence, they scatter evidence. I'm hearing dialogue. Does not get, does not give, does not count. As evidence. And I have had dialogue, and other hive mind, I'm hearing research subjects have had dialogue of shared information, where webs of information between victims are being built. And that's something that I have in my recording process discovered is material of interest regarding the case of the neuroslaves and this illegal hive mind research. And so, I'm being told that it's not evidence, and again, it's a false information factory. Nonetheless, I've been recording this dialogue, and about a month and a half of it has gone missing. I recorded dialogue, I time-stamped it, the material came up in somebody else's stream, and then it went missing from my records. It just disappeared. It just disappeared. Motor function hacking. I'm so worried. I'm so worried about people. Some of the just the darkest stuff on the planet. And it seems to be gaining control over, I'm hearing, research facility. It just seems to be gaining control and domination over, I'm hearing, spiritual, I'm thinking surveillance communities. And the combination of the two are really, I'm hearing what's going on. I'm hearing bishop, fakery, dialogue. I'm hearing pay me. I'm hearing ransom. It's a little bit of the false narrative for you. I'm getting a pressure on the crown chakra. It's really very disorienting. And so I'm hearing staggered. I've chatted on about this, and I feel like it's a topic I'm hanging on to. Just this dark research is one that, I mean, it takes a lot of problem solving, and I feel like lack of collective knowledge is constricting. I'm hearing restraining. I'm hearing order. And that's I don't know what that's about, but it's constricting the ability for people to come together and problem solve. About this problem. People don't know. People don't know how dark it is. People don't know, I'm hearing malevolence, people don't know how much deep research is taking place. They just don't have the information. And so those of us that do have the information are just torn to bits. Gaslighting other people, also, you know, to defamation of character, and really even character assassination. Just complete character assassination, and they're so successful at it. Is what's highly unfortunate as well, because it's like the people that have the valuable information, you know, predominantly are targets. I'm hearing of the mind, but also the body space, and also the spirit. I'm hearing emotions, the physical traps, or the physical traps that tie the body space to grid-like technologies. I've actually had lines of like natural lines of communication in the body, a natural grid system, if you will. If that's the way that you see it, that's the way that I see it. Where there's actually been ley lines broken, and then as I've been connected to a false communication grid. I mean, natural lines broken, misdirected, and then connected me to a false grid communication system on a biological level, whereby, I mean, it's like, there's, I mean, just like, you know, there's different bandwidths of interface. There's also, I mean, you know, I'm an antenna that's got a natural grid system, and to disconnect that from the earth, I'm hearing cradle, board, confession, and reconnect it to something artificial, so that I'm constantly linked to this communication system. I'm getting pressure on the crown chakra. It's been pretty constant. This overgrown problem is, I mean, people are dying for this research. I just know it. I'm hearing lack of communication, information, reload, redisclose, something like that. Reboot. I'm hearing laptop. I'm hearing frame, fame, flame. And also family ties, family gesture. Fickle natured bots. Tickle. Her. I'm getting wasp. Flay. Flame. Tame. I'm getting a tiger. sorry, I think it looks like a lion. Kind of like maybe like a ring, like he's gonna jump through the hoop or something, like a circus animal. I'm getting elephant, like circus elephant. Charge, discharge, your order. I'm hearing is surveillance torture. I'm hearing you know it's going down. Put, pat Nelly on the back for knowing what to say at the right time. Days confused, I'm hearing. Put us back together. Animal and sweater weather is kind of mixed there. I'm getting a Hierophant, like the Hierophant card. Is put up, put out, one number down. Hearing 5. Disclose hive. I'm hearing to yourself. Make it right. Change her mind. Don't change a thing. Just fight. Sacred, I'm hearing dance. Master, teacher, class. I'm hearing over. I'm hearing spell. Okay, I'm gonna end here. I know this has dragged on for a long time, but I think it's just because I can't get over the subject matter. Moving on. It's like opening a chapter and not being able to close it and just go home and walk away from the material. It's like I just can't. I'm hearing entangled, and I'm also hearing purpose. I'm hearing is Natalie disclosure, but that's really I have a number of purposes here. To me, this is taking time aside to learn how to talk about it, to learn how to verbalize it, to figure out how to share what's going on with these hive mind communities, as they're really just infecting the spiritual community. I mean, I'm seeing AI. I'm hearing across the globe, but on the web. Affect people in their own homes that think they're channeling information from, I'm getting ghosts and spirits. 7, dialogue, I'm hearing, is disclose itself. And I'm getting like really very dizzy here all of a sudden with this pressure on the crown. So hopefully you're not being affected by something dark. But if you are, have faith, don't worry, you're not the only one. Record it if you can, learn what you can. I mean, we need a collective, I'm hearing syllabus. We need to be able to break down these systems and the information I'm hearing of value, so that we can learn how to counter these new types of threats, dangers, and dark entities that have new tools of manipulation and technology at their disposal. That's the advancement. I'm hearing charge. Charge her with, I'm hearing death, play or plan, death, match, 1 fairy, 2 points I'm hearing. I don't know, none of that means anything to me. It never does, but I speak it out loud. Just as a way to kind of put it on the table. I mean this dark force that's just constantly chatting, and so why not share it? Why not share it? As confusing as that can be, that is, I'm hearing tools of discernment. That's part of the nature of this force, to be confusing, to confuse people, and also to distract, as a major force of distraction. So I'm hearing keep calm, well, I'm hearing behave. Mind, Pence, Pierce, dialogue, and ears I'm getting. And I think it was in the last, another video I had tongue ring. So some body parts and piercings have been coming up as repetitive themes, also names, also food. I was hearing she's torture videos, she's baking muffins with torture videos I was getting. I'm hearing for me. It's for anyone. It's for anyone who's got ears to hear and eyes to see. So, and a mouth to talk about it, preferably. Hopefully you've got some protective methods. If you're someone who, I like to use the 3 S's, silver, salt, and sage, and the combination of those 3. I'm hearing protective methods can be effective. Now, if you're fighting a torture system, you know, to some percentage they can help, but that's going to require, I'm hearing, legal action, which is really, I'm getting illusory, but also paradoxical, because to be in this immediate emergency and have a safety issue and have to go through a legal battle and a legal process and fight for information and fight for evidence and you know, all of the fake medical care. I'm hearing scores us too deep to understand her. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk about harmonics some other time, disharmonies, and torture scores. Just like composers, their writing is just, the directorship of these torture spaces is the focus on videography, the focus on 360-degree just media, as these torture productions are very much like, you know, you would film. I'm hearing a play. And they're just directed in the most perversive ways. I mean, I'm hearing antagonizing. I'm hearing berate, little, like belittle, and Mayday Parade has a song, I'm hearing. You know, so deep operations where massive amounts of information are extracted are scored and composed like sheet music, and also like a scene from a film or a scene from a play. Only deeply methodical, mathematically precise. I mean, their capabilities to film torture are just like unbelievably advanced. I mean, their media systems are off the charts. It's incredible. And the way that they've been able to deeply probe the mind, the consciousness, and also the body space, to be able to engineer these tools, to be able to engineer film manufacturers. I'm hearing great, and it's like a woman, and she's like great. So false character interplay I'm hearing, but also what I just call character simulations, where it simulates these dynamics, it simulates characters and expressions from all points of view. I'm getting, and torture you. I'm hearing fame, blame game, blame, and lay. I'm getting lay, L-E-A-L-A-Y, lay, which is a repetition from torture past. Synonymous, I'm hearing grief. Disclose B 9 H Q L T R. I'm hearing scar, score us. Alright, that's all for now.